in God's plan to fulfill his purpose. How do you explain the difference between God's plan versus our plan?
Well, it's simpler than you think. The way I knew what I was called to do was I enjoyed doing it. I had fun doing it.
Right.
I know that sounds like an overly simplified explanation of it, but God won't call us to something we don't like to do. Now, let me qualify that. There are times when we are working to fulfill what we like doing that there's going to be situations, exercises, things we'll have to do that we don't like doing in order to achieve the fulfillment of the goal God's called us to and wired us to do. A lot of people, they can get a vision for something, but they don't realize there's probably 30 moving parts to become proficient at in order to fulfill this dream. So, for example, God calls you, gives you a dream in the middle of the night, calling you to open a shoe store. What do? Well, as Miles Monroe's explanation of it, God, he'll show you the end before the beginning, and then he'll back you up and start you to the fulfillment of that end. For example, if you see yourself owning a chain of shoe stores, God shows you that vision and your heart's full of joy thinking about achieving that goal. What do? You go down to the nearest shoe store, knock on the door and say, could I work with you or work for you here? I'll start out cleaning the bathrooms. As time goes by and you're faithful during that time, he's got me checking in inventory. He's got me doing returns back to the shoe factory of shoes somebody damaged. He just had me write a check out of the company book and run it down to the electric company to pay the light bill. And you learn all of the inner workings. And then before you know it, he's coming to you going, listen, how would you like to manage the store? I'm thinking of opening another one. And you go, wow, yes. See, God is equipping you with a lot of things you didn't like to go through, but along the way to make that big step into the fulfillment of what he's called you to do.
So what's happened that you never could have imagined? God showing you the end, then backed you up and started you toward that. What was your personal experience?
Well, in the early 80s, God had given me a vision for my own music ministry. I didn't know how it was going to come about, but one day I saw a piece of printed promotional material, and people would pick up and they go, boy, this is really nice. These people must know what they're doing. We didn't have the internet. We had a telephone, and we had postage stamps. That was how you promoted whatever you were doing. And so I started thinking, man, I need to learn about printing. Eventually, I became a sales rep for a printing company.
And you loved what you did there, didn't you?
Yes, the whole time I knew printing was not my goal. I had no vision to be in printing, but I did have a passion to learn how to put packages together so they move people.
At their heart.
Yes,
their thinking.
And I realized that the more high quality the printing material was, the more seriously people would take you. And one of my biggest first lessons was with the Redskins coach, Joe Gibbs, the head coach. He had a home for wayward boys out in Manassas. And I had just put together a band in Northern Virginia. Having worked in printing, I went to a graphic designer and said, here's my idea, could you help me? And then I went to the man I worked for and said, hey, could we put together a press kit or a promotional packet? When they got it, I got a phone call. And the first thing out of the promoter's mouth, his name was Keith too, was, listen, we have a lot of music bands, well-known groups, popular hip-hop groups that come in and out of here to perform for us. But I have never received a promotional packet that looks this good. Could you come meet with me? And a month later, the band I had called Keith Shealy and Toward the Mark met Toby Mack, just out of college, Liberty University. Right when DC Talk was the group he had just done their first little 2-song demonstration tape. And they were getting big quick. Now, when he lived with his mom and dad, Toby Mack lived next door to Coach Gibbs and his wife. So Toby Mack would go with Coach Gibbs to the Redskin practices and just hang around. As a young guy through high school, Toby Mack knew all the players, everybody in there. I never thought about it before, but I wouldn't doubt Coach Gibbs play a big part in Toby getting started.
Right, because he, I'm sure, really knew Toby well and his music.
And you've seen the pictures of Toby and the band. Just so many cool things happen when you set out to do something to glorify God, not to glorify yourself or what you're doing, when it's your passion to promote God, Jesus Christ, the person of the Holy Spirit. When that's your passion, God starts opening up doors. God always provides for his purpose. And so all we have to do is prepare for what we're praying for, and we get to enjoy watching the Holy Spirit bring things together, make things possible.